I'm David Grana with Real Talk. Today's discussion is with Roger Gros, the publisher for Las Vegas-based Global Gaming Business Magazine. He has his finger on the pulse of the gaming industry, which is our largest industry here in Las Vegas and in the state of Nevada. And he'll be giving us some insight as to what the future holds potentially for our great city of Las Vegas. I'd like to thank our sponsor, the Jungi Group, brokered by eXp Realty. They transact real estate and have fun doing it. I put a link to their website in the description to this video. Hope you enjoy the discussion. Roger Gross, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for inviting me, David. It's great to be here with you.
Likewise. Roger, it's been an interesting 2020. Here we are at the beginning of 2021. Seems like we might have a little bit of craziness heading into this year, at least socially, politically. I know we all try to avoid the topic of 2020, like like it was just a very bad experience. But let me kind of get you to go back, and from the perspective of the gaming industry, what happened last year? What was the biggest impact that you saw from COVID-19, and also the lessons learned from last year?
Well, for the U.S. game industry, when everybody closed down in mid-March, and some of them stayed closed through July and August, it was devastating. Hundreds of thousands of jobs were put on hold. The players were locked in their homes. The land-based casinos were devastated. There was some good news, however, with the online gaming. That obviously didn't shut down, and when people were at home with nothing to do, online gaming really became a savior for them. So I think it really showed the viability of online gaming, and some of the things that are happening in the industry today are as a result of what we learned during the pandemic in terms of acquisitions and mergers and things of that nature. So while there certainly was a negative impact to the land-based casinos, the revenues, the taxes to the states, the employees, when you look to the future of the industry, I think it may have pushed it forward more quickly than it would have in a normal sense of the word.
Do you see a big long-term detriment to the land-based casino industry heading into 2021?
The facets of the industry are really the important thing here. Gambling is gambling. People are going to come and gamble no matter what. But certainly here in Las Vegas and a lot of the other destination resorts, the entertainment, the meetings and conventions, that kind of business, you don't know when that's going to come back and how it's going to come back. And that's, I think, the most worrying thing for the land-based industry at this point. I think we have to worry about meetings and conventions here in Las Vegas. I mean, right now it looks like at the very earliest we're going to have some people show up in the middle of the year for small conventions. But I don't think the appetite is going to be there for people to come back, really through the end of this year, and maybe into 22. Who knows? But and of course we've all gotten used to this Zoom thing, doing meetings virtually, and companies that used to send you on a week trip to go to a convention now get the same things done on a couple hour conference call or a seminar session that you would have, where they spend thousands of dollars flying you there, putting you up, and buying you food for a week. So I think that will change the convention and meetings business pretty substantially. And from now on, I think you're going to have to see kind of a hybrid meetings and conventions business, where you offer some of it online to people who don't want to travel, or companies that won't fork out the money to travel, and then for the people who really want to do the in-person meetings, I think you're going to have to appeal to both of those genres there.
Now, you mentioned online gaming has done very well. Is this why we're starting to see casino operators looking at acquisitions of online gaming companies, like we've seen with William Hill and Caesars, and will we potentially see more of these types of acquisitions, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, just this week, MGM is talking to a company called Entain. They used to be called GVC. They're a British company that owns a lot of online gaming assets, sports betting assets, and MGM has already been in partnership with Entain for BetMGM in the U.S. But now they're talking about buying the entire company, which has a lot of other elements to it than just sports betting. So I think you're going to see MGM eat that deal at some point. And then the other companies are going to look into things. Just a few weeks ago, Hard Rock International hired the former CEO from PokerStars, one of the bigger, early movers in online gaming. So I think you see, Hard Rock to that in a substantial way. Some of the other companies have to be eyeing it. Boyd Gaming, for example. I mean, locals market, but they've got to understand, you've got to mitigate, the way you do business. You have to be able to appeal to all your types of customers, from your in-person customers to your online customers. So I think it's going to really change the way the land-based industry approaches online gaming.
Now we've got all this available space right now. You're seeing conventions probably won't come back till the latter part of this year. And in fact, I saw the schedule of conventions. October looks like it's really the month that at least they're
Right.
planning on having them. There's a few here and there that are coming up in between, but who knows if they'll actually be able to hold those events. With all this extra space, I mean, what kind of pain is this causing? I mean, are you hearing rumblings in the industry of what effect this is this having?
Well, just within the last year, Las Vegas Convention Center opened up its million square foot expansion. Caesars opened up their Caesars Forum behind behind the Flamingo and Harrah's there. That is 500,000 square feet. MGM recently opened some of its convention space in MGM Grand. So there's a lot of convention space here, and that's going to go to waste now, for at least this year, I think. And one of the big trade shows that in Las Vegas is Global Gaming Expo, the gaming trade show, and that's scheduled for October, and they're hoping to hold that. And that's being held at Sheldon Adelson's property, the Venetian and Sands Expo Center. And here's another facet of this. Sheldon came out, right a few months ago, saying he doesn't think the convention business is going to come back fast enough, and he's putting his properties on the market here in Vegas. Hard Rock is looking into it. Golden Nugget, maybe Tillman Fertitta looking into it. So it's a $6 billion price tag, but if the market does come back sooner than they think, it could be a good deal. So the fact that Sheldon, is under the weather now with some health issues, may slow that down a little bit. But these are the big things that are happening in the city that we don't know how they're going to resolve, within this next year anyway.
Now, the opposite side of it, the flip side of that, is you've got properties that are currently up for sale, potentially going to be up for sale.
Yeah.
Then we just heard recently that the property across from the Resort over in Henderson is going to be developed into a casino. And also there's a big plot of land, I think about 70 some odd acres on Durango in the 215, owned by Stations, which will also be potentially developed into a resort casino. It just seems very conflicting. What do I make of this? What do you make of this?
Well, I think one of the markets that's doing fairly well here in Vegas now is the locals market. They have really done a good job of making their customers feel comfortable. Mitigating the cleanliness situation with all kinds of procedures where customers can come in there and feel like they're comfortable. On the Strip right now, you can shoot a cannon down the Strip during the week. On the weekends, it's pretty full because of the drive-in from California, which is still completely locked down. So, but during the week, it's terrible. At least the locals casinos are pretty steady during the week and on the weekend. So, I think that's what is kind of spurring station to look at the Durango property. But then you have to consider also they've got four properties that haven't reopened yet, and they probably will not reopen. I understand that they put the Palms on the market, and they want to sell that, and they just finished a $500 million renovation to that property. So I don't know if they're going to get their money back on that, but and I don't know who's going to buy it at the price tag they want. At the same time, they've got the Fiesta in Henderson, which is still closed, and I don't see that reopening because there's just a less than a mile away is Sunset Station and Boulder Station down the highway there. So, and of course Green Valley Ranch. So they've kind of got it surrounded there, but I don't think they want to sell that property because if they sell it, another competitor will come in there and try to poach their customers. You remember how long they fought that Roadrunner casino on Boulder Highway, which still they never opened up because of station opposition. So I don't see them. I see that property kind of rotting away. I think they prefer to just knock it down and not have anybody own that property again. So, but station really, I think station has been a problem for the state of Nevada at this point. Their decisions are really based on their self interest and not on the interests of Nevada. They've kept the lottery out of Nevada for all these years. They kept online gaming out, and as a result, Nevada has fallen woefully behind other states when it comes to regulating and developing online gaming technology. So station casinos doesn't really impress me now in terms of doing what's right for the state rather than doing what's right for their shareholders.
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, I think last time I saw their stock, they got hit pretty hard throughout this entire pandemic. I mean, they were probably the hardest hit of all the properties or all the property owners.
Yeah, and rightly so as far as I'm concerned, because of their lack of desire to really move the state forward. So, it's a difficult time. I mean, what are you going to do? You have a company that really is dependent upon a locals market, and you don't really want to take the chance of letting these people gamble at home, buy thousands of dollars of lottery tickets, that kind of thing. So they're doing what they think is right for themselves, but I don't think in the end it's right for the state.
Well, interestingly enough, we get a lot of snowbirds that come into town that are the local. They go to the local casinos, they go to the M
Right.
and that. We haven't really seen those snowbirds. A lot of them are very concerned about COVID and about the health issues. I've also heard a lot of Canadians, which normally have a second home down here. They're not coming anymore because of obviously the quarantine issues going cross borders. So if they're so dependent on this local activity, I mean, there's got to be a point where you just don't have enough. You don't have enough people playing, enough people gambling, and then you have empty rooms at the same time. I mean, a lot of these casinos that are so dependent on the local crowds starting to worry and think, boy, we're in a bit of a tough space.
Yeah, I certainly think that. I mean, there's a lot of concerns on that, but even though they're reopened, they haven't brought back all their employees. So they're really working on a skeleton crew to a large extent. And I don't think you're going to see the employees come back until the players really start to come back. So I don't think you'll see anything close. Because of a lack of business, but I certainly think you're not going to see wholesale full employment again until a lot of these lockdowns end in some of the other states and countries that are feeders to Las Vegas.
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, we just saw a report recently came out. The M, it looks like they're laying off about 150 people.
Mm.
And MGM, I think that was a report came out yesterday. They are furloughing about 140 management staff.
Right. Yeah, and that's just a result of there's not enough business. As I said during the week, I've been in some of the strip casinos, and there's hardly anybody gambling. I mean, there's maybe a handful of people at the machines and a few more at the tables, and that's it. And half the tables are shut down. More than half the tables are shut down, and they've got the plastic dividers amongst the customers, and it's just not a real conducive atmosphere for gambling. The only saving grace for Vegas is California is still closed down, and people who want to get out of California and be able to live their lives, and they're coming to Vegas on the weekends. And sometimes that attracts not your best clientele. I was talking to somebody yesterday about how we're seeing more coolers being rolled through the lobbies of hotels, and that's the last thing the casino owners want to see. They want to see you in there, want to see them in their restaurants and in their bars and things like that, and not up there in their rooms, eating and drinking up there. So it's not the top of the line customer we're getting, but at least the customers are coming.
Well, when you can get a room at the Wynn for like $170 a night as opposed to
Right.
450, that's gonna attract a different type of clientele. And the Californians are coming here in droves to get away from California. They're moving here. It's not just for holiday. I mean, if I don't know if you've seen the value of your house go up, but you can thank the Californians in large part for that.
Right.
You mentioned plastic dividers and the environment inside the casino now, and I know online gaming is big. Is there anything to try and address from a technology standpoint or a different design for table games and that to be able to address the whole social distancing thing, the sort of non-touch type of devices, non-touch gaming?
Well, I saw a product being developed by Paul Steelman, the legendary casino architect, where you're playing blackjack and you get the virtual cards on your phone. You make your decisions on your phone, and you get paid on your phone. So you sit at a table, and the dealer puts the cards out, but you see that on your phone. The actions you take are on your phone. There's no interaction. There's no touch between the dealer and the customer, which is okay. I mean, that's if that's what you're worried about, that's fine. But I just don't see that being a solution. And frankly, the three players at a blackjack table, it's not the business model of a blackjack game. So things are going to have to change somehow. And I hopefully once the vaccine is widespread and herd immunity kicks in, this will go back to normal in terms of how people play at a table game. But until then, it's going to be a difficult sled here to get any kind of expected revenue out of blackjack tables or craps tables or poker tables.
What's the overall industry globally? What's their sense for 2021? Or what are they anticipating?
Well, they're all hoping that they're going to bounce back. I mean, the biggest gaming jurisdiction in the world in Macau, they're still 70% below, their average monthly win when it comes to gaming revenue. So, and for 6 months of last year, it was 95% below. So they're starting to inch back up, but China is also imposing a lot of restrictions on the movement of money now. So it's harder to get the high rollers, the junket operators who are really bringing the high rollers into Macau are being handcuffed a lot by these currency reporting requirements, and so that's just more problems on top of the problems, the health problems that Macau has had. So what we're starting to see are these little travel bubbles where there's areas that are not as hard hit, that where you can travel from one province in Canada in China to another, or to Macau. For example, Hong Kong and Singapore are considering have announced a travel bubble where you can go between Hong Kong and Singapore, without any restrictions. And of course, that's good for the casinos in Singapore. So that's what's kind of developing here. Australia is still locked down. You still can't go to Australia. The industry there is really hurting. On top of that, the biggest casino company down there, Crown Resorts, is having a lot of regulatory problems. Again, there's rumors that Sheldon Adelson is going to buy Crown just because there's a chance that they might get their license stripped by the regulators down there. So it's there's a lot of other things going on in the rest of the world, in addition to COVID, that are impacting casino operations around the world.
And on the Sheldon Adelson topic, so he wants to sell up here, but he is particularly interested in Australia. Is he very much banking on the Asian traveler going down to Australia as opposed to coming here to Las Vegas?
Well, they've had a lot of Asian travel to Australia to begin with. So he would like to get in there if he can get in at the right price, And I think if it's a fire sale, if Crown is going to be lose their license, he can get in there at a great price. And their properties down there are very nice. The property in Melbourne is great. The one they just opened in Sydney is a spectacular building. So they could really he could Sheldon could really put his stamp on Australia. So that would be a good thing. But even though Sheldon's talking about selling Vegas, he's also talking about expanding into Texas. He's got a lot of lobbyists going into Texas right now to see if he can get them to legalize casino gambling in Texas. Georgia is talking about it. He'd love to have a casino in Atlanta. In New York. New York is very close to approving four more casinos, which was their plan 4 years ago when they opened the casinos in upstate New York. They were going to wait for 7 years and then approve four in the downstate area. A couple of being in New York City. So Sheldon's is looking at some of the other states in the nation and kind of salivating. So I think even though he's not happy with what's going on in Vegas, I think he could build in some of these other jurisdictions and become the master domo of those cities.
Does the possibility of gambling and casinos in these other jurisdictions sort of make Las Vegas lose its luster, do you think, or what impact do you think it could have?
Yeah, I think to a certain extent, because they're all talking about integrated resorts. They're all talking about not just casinos. They're talking about casinos that have all the amenities that you see in Asia when you talk about integrated resorts. The massive meeting and convention space, the entertainment options, the food and beverage, the retail, all that stuff is going to be built into these properties. So that would kind of keep them from coming to Vegas if they can find it in their own town. So yeah, I think it's a challenge for Vegas for sure. So we have to be aware of that and constantly up our game.
And speaking of upping our game, Derek Stevens opened up Circa just this past month. Have you heard what the feedback was? Was it a success, the grand opening?
I think so far. I interviewed him a couple of weeks after it opened, and he was happy with what was happening. Obviously, he suffers from kind of the same strip thing where the weekdays are pretty slow for him, and the weekends really pick up. Um, I think he really built a property there that broke the mold here in Vegas when you consider the 6 levels of pools. They call it the stadium swim. That is surrounded by giant screens, so you can watch sports and entertainment. The sports book is huge. It's modeled after the Westgate sports book, which Derek used to go to when he came in from Detroit on sports betting weekends. So he's really changed the model in downtown Las Vegas, and I think for the rest of the town, I think he's keeping the pools open, all year. And his justification was that when you go to the ski areas like Telluride and Aspen in Colorado, they have pools open, in the middle of the winter when it's 5 degrees. He said, why can't we do it here? And he's certainly correct. The pools are heated to like 90-degree temperatures, and it's just a great experience for people. I haven't done it myself yet, but I'm looking forward to trying it. I think it's going to be something that really is going to break the mold here in Vegas, and you're going to see more casinos, opt to use these day clubs year round, not just in the summertime.
So overall, if you look at the Las Vegas resort casino industry for the following year, what's your crystal ball say? And I hate to put you in a tough spot because nobody knows anything about anything right now.
We've all been trying to predict what's going to happen down through, since this thing started, and we've all been wrong. So I might as well be wrong again. But no, I think it's going to slowly recover. And again, a lot of it depends on other states. New Jersey right now has restrictions from 48 of the 49 states. If they say you have to quarantine if you travel from any of those states, and I don't know how they enforce that, which they don't, having been there several times myself. But uh, you know, this is going to keep people away. A lot of people take that thing seriously. They won't go travel unless, the state government says you can do it, So, and then what's going to happen here in Nevada? I mean, Governor Sisolak, was a little tough in the beginning with all the lockdowns early on. But he's resisted closing the casinos again, and I think wisely so, because you can't shut down Nevada's economy again, or we'll never recover. So I think he's been wise to keep the casinos open, and under the 25% restrictions. I think that makes sense. But at some point, that's going to have to open up a little bit again too. And again, it all depends on how quickly the vaccines get out, and how safe people think they are once they get them. I mean, they're still saying, you got to wear a mask, you got to, even if you have the vaccine, you got to do all the things we've been doing, social distancing, etc. And even if you have the vaccine, how long are you going to continue to do that? So um, I'm certainly not a doctor, and I can't say, but hopefully, people will start to realize that we can get back to normal sooner rather than later.
Excellent. Thank you so much for your insight, Roger. I really appreciate it.
Sure, it's great to be with you. I really enjoy what you're doing. You've always been a service to Las Vegas with overseeing the real estate here, and I really enjoy being on with you.
Likewise, I hope we can maybe do this live at some point later on this year. And if we can, you can figure out a way we can do it from a casino. That would be amazing.
Right, right,
Awesome.
absolutely.
Well, have a great weekend. Thanks again, and we will catch up soon.
Okay, thanks, David.
Thank you for watching, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button.